Hello everyone, today we are going to talk about XML. So in a scenario where you want to make an API call to a server from a client, you might sometimes need to enter some content in the body of the request. You have the option to choose between writing the request in XML format, in JSON, in HTML, or there are also other options. In case you want or you have to write the body of the content in XML, you might want to know some basic syntax of XML. So, what is XML? XML stands for Extensible Markup Language. In order to write a well-formed XML, we might need to know few basic things. The first thing is there is such thing as XML prologue. The XML prologue is not mandatory in an XML file, but you might make use of it when needed. The XML prologue allows you to mention the version of the XML file and the encoding of the file. The second thing is that we need to know that XML works with tags. We have two types of tags, the opening tags and the closing tags. So every element in an XML file needs to have an opening tag and a closing tag. The third thing is we need to have a root element. The root element or the parent element will englobe all other elements in the XML file. For example, in a scenario where we want to write the structure of a company, we might know that there is a company, and within the company there are employees, there is the address of the company and other details. The englobing opening tag and closing tag will be the company because everything else will be within the company. The fourth thing is nested structures. So in an XML, we might make use of nested structure. As mentioned in my previous example, in a scenario where we want to write the structure of a company, we know that a company, within a company, there are employees and there are other things. But if we focus on employees, we will then have the parent element or the root element as company, and within the company we will have tags for the employees, and within the employees we might enter some details related to the employee, for example the name of the employee, the address of the employee, or the role of the employee within that organization. So this is about some few basic concepts about XML. Now we will go to Postman and see how we can create a request body in XML. Let's imagine a scenario where we are in the company and we want to represent the structure of the company. Of course, as we mentioned previously, in the company there are multiple employees and there are other details of the company. But for this scenario, let's only focus on employee. We know that the first thing first, or the englobing root element here, will be the company. So we are going ahead and writing a tag, an opening tag for company. So I'm going to say my company, and then I have to write another tag, a closing tag this time, for my company. Here we have the opening and closing tag for the root element. Then within the company there are employees. Of course, we might have 2, 3 or multiple employees, but we know that we have employees. So we have the option either to create an opening and closing tag for employees, or we can just list all the employees that are in the organization. For this video, we are only going to focus on employee. So that's why we are going to create an opening and closing tag for our first employee. So we have our first employee, and we, of course, a closing tag for employee. Our first employee, of course, need to have a name and other details. So I'm going to write an opening tag for the name of our employee and a closing one for it. And let's say the name of our first employee is Peter. The second detail of the employee that we want to mention here is his age. So we have an opening tag for age and a closing tag for age. And Peter is 60 years old. The third thing we want to mention is the role of this employee. So we have an opening tag for role together with a closing tag for role. And Peter is a manager, so I'm not going to write manager right here. So these are the details of our first employee. Of course, if we have multiple employees, we can again create a second employee. So an opening tag, of course, we start with an opening tag employee, and then we need a closing tag for employee. Then we're going to create an opening tag for the name of our second employee, and her name is Rose. We also need the age of Rose, so we have an opening and closing tag, and her age is 20 years old. And also we need, of course, to mention her role in the company. And we're going to say she's our accountant. So as you can see, we have created the structure of our company. Our company for the moment has 2 employees. Peter is the first employee and Rose is the second employee, and each one of these employees have an age, a role of the employee. So this is it for this video, and this is the basic structure of XML. I hope we have enjoyed this video. We will see you next time.